And this is recorded and it goes on our YouTube channel. So you can also, if you want to be anonymous, you can just change your name on the screen too, of course. So who wants to start with something you'd like some coaching on? Josie, okay. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay, so I've been listening to a couple of different Zooms and networking groups and things that have talked a bit about AI Chat GPT and the benefits of it, and that if you don't utilize it, then basically you're going to become obsolete. So how do you see that actually playing out in nurse entrepreneurship, or in our businesses, whatever they might be?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. And my answer is going to depend on what your business is about. Clearly, like, okay, at one extreme, if you're a healer and you're doing Reiki or massage, you won't have a lot of AI involved, but you can still use it in your emails and getting ideas.
Yeah, and that was kind of what they had referred to it more in your marketing materials, as well as being able to develop courses within minutes, developing books, ebooks, posts for your social media, all of that kind of, and more marketing and branding than in your actual practice.
Yeah. Okay. So if we focus on those kind of things, yes, I think it's going to be very much used. It's already being used. I think just about everybody I know that is marketing on a regular basis is using it. I mean, even things like Grammarly, that's AI. And I find Grammarly extremely useful to help me with whenever I write. But as far as is it going to take over things, and are you going to be left behind if you don't learn it? I think that was your initial question. I think that's true in the long term, but I don't think we have to be in an emergency relationship with it right now. I think we can start to experiment with it and learn about it. I think that it will, at the level that it's developed right now, it is not sufficient to create courses with. It can help you generate an outline or titles, things like that. But any course that's worth its salt, it's going to be more than what the AI could come up with. And I think what's going to happen is it'll push the whole trend about courses into being, there'll be free ones that are made by AI that anybody could assemble. And then, but the valuable ones will be the ones that people have handwritten that include human judgment about human, very nuanced situations. And I don't personally think the robots will ever be able to develop that. And I think that there'll be even more and more value to human experience and communication about human experience. Now, does that help with what you're thinking about? I have a feeling there's more specifics involved in your question.
No, I mean, I think it kind of gives a good observation, because it's one of those things where perhaps it's my personal demographic that I have yet to really utilize it. And I think part of the utilization is also the time factor that it's like, I'm just trying to figure out how to do a YouTube, right? And so, like, how do you record? How do you upload it? How do you create all the stuff that needs to go underneath it? How do so how do I, complete my website? How do I, and all of those kind of
Yeah.
things that are, there's that learning curve to just kind of get that basic sort of infrastructure in place. And do you have the brand first and then create the infrastructure, or do you create some of the infrastructure so then that way, as you start to gather some momentum and some people, then your brand sort of emerges.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
So you're trying to line up what are the first steps and third and fourth and 30th. I mean, to get an idea of
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you should be
So
spending
yeah,
your
so what are
time.
the fundamentals? I'm trying to figure out the fundamentals before I start adding some of the the and maybe the AI would make that learning curve a little shorter, but
Well, I'd love to respond to that and then
yeah,
we'll move on
sure,
to somebody else. But
sure,
I think
yeah,
this is
yeah, totally.
appropriate to almost everybody, probably. So the fundamentals are really important to get first, and they don't come from AI. They come from you having conversations with the people you want to serve and really listening to them, and listening empathetically, so that you're really listening with your heart at the same, and absorbing how their experience is impacting them and what they're looking for, help with. But at the same time, you're not listening as a caregiver, you're listening as a businesswoman. And that is a different mindset that takes cultivation and feedback. And there's a learning curve there. So that's really the super important fundamentals to start with. If I think that, especially as nurses, that's where we need to come from initially. The people that are using Chat GPT and aren't experts in their field are just going to churn out stuff that sounds like, Chat GPT brings it in from the internet, and it's not the private stuff, it's the stuff that's just out there, publicly accessible. So you're just going to sound like a generic voice, and 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 it doesn't mean to say it doesn't have value. It does have value, but I think your basics are, like, if you really wanted to be a great cook, the basics are to learn this from scratch, like how does flour react to heat and water, and what can happen to a sugar when it gets too hot, and you want to learn the basics of your ingredients to really become a good chef or cook, rather than just rely on packaged things that you can take off the shelf. So I guess that's my bias, but that's what I have seen, and I think that's important. We have another coach from the Liberated Nurse Business Incubator here, and that's Teresa Walding. And I know Teresa uses Chat GP now in her business quite a lot, but she's been in business for 7 years. Teresa, do you want to add anything to what I've said as far as where it should, where you see it being useful in the journey of becoming an entrepreneur and getting the basics in place?
For me, I use it a little bit different. I bounce my ideas in there, but I specifically give it complete my thoughts, my feelings, like in detail. And then I don't listen to everything it says. You can't. It comes up with words I'm like, I would never use those words. So for me, it helps organize, like, my thoughts ramble a lot. I don't know if anybody else does that, but when I'm writing, I'm like, oh, I want to put this, and then I go off on some other tangent. It's really good for organizing that. Like, I can ask it to put it in a logical order, it makes my brain likes that, because then it sort of puts it in that, oh, and I tell it not to use its words, keep my exact words that I use, so that it doesn't sound robotic, but also I want my own words in there. I don't want it to come up with something else. So that's how I use it, kind of like that little extra organization piece that's hard for me. And then I make sure that when I take it off of there, I line edit it and make it say what I want it to say.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Teresa. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have it just to be trained on your own words and organize your own words, that's a whole different application, and that's can be very useful. It can
And I don't
outline
know,
your own words, and it can give you a title for your own words. And when it's self-referencing to you, that can be very helpful.
and there's a place on the settings where you can put parameters in there. So read about that. It's in the settings, and you can tell it, this is how I want you to respond to me. And that was very helpful.
Lori has her hand up. Oh, but first, before we go to Lori, Josie says, do you use it for blogs and social media? Teresa?
As an idea generator. It's really good as an idea generator. And sometimes what it puts out is pretty good as a blog or a social media, but I want it to still be me. So I change it.
Thank you. Okay, Lori, let's go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, I know of a lot of people that use it if they're trying to figure out verbiage for like a post or an invitation or to market an event or something. And I've used it a couple times. I didn't know that there were all the features in the settings. But people that know you will know that is not her talking. That is not her lingo. So, being able to switch it up, but it does, I have used it for events, and it does help give you just a more professional, I guess, articulating of words or titles or however you want to. So I've seen a lot of that.
Thank you. I've seen that too. So it's definitely something to get into at your own pace and experiment with, but I don't think you need to fear that you're going to miss out and be way behind the boat. And I hear that message out there a lot, but I think that's a little bit manipulative for somebody's advantage usually. So great question though. I use it. One thing I use it for is subject lines for an email, because even though I write the whole email, but then I use a subject line generator, which is just AI, but with just that focus. And it doesn't give me a subject line that I love the first time or two around. It'll give me a list of 10. And then, okay, I maybe pick a couple out of that and go through it again. And I do several iterations. And sometimes I wind up using one it suggests, and sometimes it just gives me an idea of something that I want to use myself. Yeah. Let's see, I just saw a comment. Let me see that again. Oh yeah, Teresa says one thing AI will never do is the critical thinking. Yeah, and the human connection. Absolutely. So critical thinking, judgment, compassion, insight, the things that nurses are most known for, those won't be replaced. Empathy, Has anyone else here used it to good success, in a way that we haven't brought up yet? Would you like to share? Yeah, Janet.
I used it to kind of, I was putting together a program, a proposal, and I wanted to have I also wanted to, like, if I have, I'm going to do these certain workshops during this event that I'm doing, what would be a good way to break out the time so that I have enough time to present on these topics and have breaks, and when should lunch be and things like that. And it gave me an option, and then I could, that was a good kind of basic framework to say, I think that's too many breaks, or I think that's not enough breaks, or oh, I didn't think about that, or so that was another way to kind of plug in my information. I want to present, these topics and whatever, and it came up with a timeline for me. That was handy.
That is handy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that Chat GPT or another AI tool?
It was a different AI tool. It's one called Poe, Poe. I think it's Poe is part of some other app, but that's the free part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. If any of you want the help with your subject lines, you can, it's a free website, actually, you can go to. It's just subjectline.com and generate subject lines. Okay, Lola has a question. Any tips on marketing services after finding a niche outside of cold pitching and emails? Okay, Lola, what's your audience, and I guess I'm assuming you have found a niche. So I'm wondering I wonder what your audience is and what their challenge is. And
yeah, so initially I was a school nurse 2 years ago during COVID, and I was pretty much disappointed with the nursing profession. And so I decided to go on my own, started my own business as Nomadic Puma, and I started offering services as a writer, health writer. But I found myself being in competition with people who were getting paid way below what I was expecting. And I attended the healthcare journalist conference a few times and connected. And just like you mentioned earlier, having that, getting to network with people and connecting with them, it opens so many doors. And so I was able to start writing here and there, but it's just really difficult to compete with people who didn't really have the healthcare background and yet charged way below the pay rate that I wanted or that I was expecting. And an opportunity came across where I got invited to work for a media company as a freelancer. To this day, I'm still working for them, in which I'm grateful for. And they opened this really random niche that I've never expected myself to be in, which is where I do expert and medical reviewing. And so basically they send me the health content that other writers write that don't have any medical background, don't have nursing background. And I confirm the facts, I confirm the definitions, I confirm the statistics, I pretty much calculate a lot of the data and fact checked and just, I guess, like double check that whatever their statement is what the research article is trying to say.
yeah.
So that's my niche, and I love it, love it with uppercase letters. Never thought I would ever fall into this category. To this day, I don't even know really what role that is. Oh, fact checker, medical reviewer. Because if you Google medical reviewer, you're gonna find PhDs. You're gonna find, people literally going into like the hardcore case studies and the research, which I love. but no one's going to hire me as a medical reviewer. They want PhDs, they want MDs. And I don't have the money nor the interest to go back to school or the time to go back and get into an online course and start going through like another 3 years of like, what is medical reviewing and certification and yada, yada, yada. And so I found this company and I love them. And I've, have emailed them and I said, hey, if you guys have more work, but again, it's just one company. So my struggle at this moment in my career is, how do I find more like them? Like, how do I get to them? How do I find them? How do I connect with them? How do I, expand my services in this specific category? Because it's giving me the freedom that I've always wanted. I work from home. I homeschool my kids. I get paid well, but I would love more work.
Yeah.
And so just finding more people, and I have nowhere, like, I don't even know where to start. Like, how do you even like find more people? And I don't know if it's a good thing to even ask them. I mean, I don't know if it's professional to like, send them an email and say, hey, do you have other people that that might want my services? I don't know.
Okay. Well, this is a
Yeah.
great question. And first of all, congratulations. That's really a wonderful situation that you found one that you love and is paying you the way you want to be paid. So that's the hardest part, is to get one.
Yeah.
And now you'll be able to find.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a particular person you work with in this company?
Yeah, it's an editorial group. Most of my team are editors.
Okay.
And I do have contact with them.
Okay. Who's in charge of that team? Or who hired you?
Oh, an editor. I know her name and I have her email.
I mean,
but once
I don't
you
need the
mean the
name.
company?
I'm
the
thinking
company?
like, what's her role in the company? Do you know?
She's the editor. I know. I mean, she actually seeked me out, which was another random, amazing experience.
Great.
So, yeah,
So,
she seeked me out, and yeah, I don't know.
So here's my suggestion: is get to know her better. Find out more about her. What's her whole job? What's her title? How'd she get that job in her business, in the business she works for? Find out about her, because then she's your ideal client. She's your avatar, is what some people call it. In nursing, we call it an exemplar. She's the example of who you want more of, right?
Yeah.
And so find out all you can about her, and find out about who does she know that have similar position in other magazines. Is it a magazine?
No, it's actually like a marketing company. She used to work for Healthline Media. I'm sure you're familiar.
Yeah.
And so I had connected with her through Healthline Media, but she left that company and joined Pillar 4 Media. And that's who I work for now. And I try to just Google like relevant companies or companies just like Pillar 4. And a few come up, but like you said, you need an editor, you need a contact. Otherwise, there's no way to get through. And so I will do my research on that, and I'll see if I can. She's just so, you know how they are. They're very busy.
Extremely.
So once they kind of give you the spiel of like the contract, they pass you over to the next person that's going to take care of that.
Yeah.
And then you never hear about them again. They just like, so yeah, I'm going to try to see if I can get a hold of her again and ask her.
See if you can get a little intel, and ask it. It is completely fine to ask her, who else does she know in the industry that you might be able to work with? Or where do they gather? Like, is there a conference once a year? Is there a LinkedIn group that they're in? My term for that is that a hub of people where all the other editors, some connecting point where editors go. If you can find that out, then you can get in front of those people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I would find out about her, and then find out where there's other people like her.
Yeah, sounds good. I didn't even think about her actually until you mentioned it.
Yeah.
But we'll do. Thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah, Lori.
I am curious as to if you had any thoughts on when you are marketing around your geographical area, how many of those local or of those areas do you plug into? I live about probably about 45 miles east of Dallas. And so we're kind of out in the country, and there's probably 4 or 5 small little towns that kind of one spills over to the other. They have different towns, and they're different chambers of commerce and different school districts and that kind of thing. But I have been really networking in the larger area, which is about 20 minutes from me. And I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine or really an acquaintance on Thursday. And she is on the chamber board of the town that we actually live in. And so she told me, she said, you don't need to be marketing over there. You need to be she said, people in this community know you here. They know what you do. And she said, and that is truly where all my connections are. And she said, here's where you need to plug in, and here's why. She goes, I can tell you what you do, and you probably don't even know that I know, but your name's around town. And so she said, so I was just really surprised by that. And I thought, man, I've put all my efforts into this other town, which is not far. I make it sound like it's, an hour away, but it's really not. But I just wondered if you had any thoughts around any of that.
Yeah. Start where you're known. Start where you're known. It's not really about the distance. If you had built a big network in the town 20 minutes away, but nobody knew you at home, you'd go to the town 20 minutes away. But it's all about where are you already known and trusted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I just never had thought of, and I guess what drew me to being a part of this other town is there were some more professional women alliances that had formed. And they were, you see them everywhere. Their advertisements, the events they do, not so much in the town that I'm in, but they haven't paid off at all. So I've been at this for probably maybe a good 6 months or so, which I know is still infancy stage, and I've met a lot of great people and networking potentials, but nobody that I really know. So I was just, that's why I was drawn to that area. But
yeah, that makes sense. And those are probably good contacts that will pay off down the road. So keep them warm. But in the meantime, it sounds like your friend gave you a great tip. And did you ask her what is it that people know you for? And ask her those kind of details that she has. So
what's interesting is I met her, I had reached out to her because we go to church together. And it's so funny because she's probably, if I'm guessing, I would say she's probably early 30s. She owns a t-shirt printing business in town. Her business does quite a bit of business. They do all the sports teams and anything that needs to mass production in as far as t-shirt logos, that kind of thing. That's the only business in town. So her and her sister-in-law own this business. Well, so we go to church together, and she lives with her grandmother, who is, I'm going to say she's probably in her 80s. And there's a big group of them, these senior citizens. They go to lunch every Sunday afternoon. Well, she's in that group because of her grandmother. And my mom is in that. My parents are in that group, and they just adore her. They think and she'll tell everybody, okay, I'm going to take care of my old people now. I'm going to go have lunch with them. You know, she takes care of them all, and they love her. She's a hoot. She's just very humorous, and she keeps them laughing. And, so anyway, I see her every Sunday, but I really don't know her. And I've started a health and wellness ministry at our church, and she volunteered to serve on this with me. And so I just kind of wanted to get to know her better since we were kicking this ministry off. And so we met for coffee, and we have sibling stories that we were comparing. And so we talked for a good hour before I started asking her about the business side of things. And she was like, yeah, she goes, your name is, this is what she said. She said, everybody knows that if they have a family member in the hospital that they need to advocate for, they know to call you. Your name keeps calling up because they know that you know what questions to ask for them to ask the physicians or whatever. And I just thought that was an interesting non-clinical perspective of what I do. But anyway, it was okay.
That is gold, though. I just want to pause you right there, because that is, you wouldn't have thought of it, because none of us do. We come from our own perspective. We've had so many years of education and experience and conditioning. So we see things very differently than the public sees things. And so when you can hear someone from the public's view, how they view you and how they view the value you bring, you want to really, honor that, capture it, repeat it and working it into your marketing messages when you tell people what you do.
Yeah, I never would have thought of that, like, because that's not part of my spiel or,
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting to see that non-clinical side of perception.
Yeah. Yeah. That's excellent. And I think we all have examples of that in our lives. It can, after we hear it, we think that's so simple, that's so obvious, but it's not obvious to us until we hear it from someone. And it'll make more sense to the people we talk to than our clinical or our professional jargon. Yeah, Janet, I saw your hand.
Yeah, my sister is married to a nurse, and in recent years when we've had ailing family members, I'll say something and she goes, you nurses ask the best questions. So yeah, I mean, like, we do. It's very interesting to see how we're perceived.
Yeah, it's like the air we breathe, so we don't see it, but other people see it and value it.
Hey Sharon, I noticed I got an email from you about a couple of a bundle of courses that you're putting together. And I know I have some material about marketing from you already. Is there anything new within these courses that you put together that I or my peers here would benefit from?
Yeah. Thanks for that question, Janet. And I guess to answer it, I want to first say, what are you doing these days? Because it's been a
It's been a little bit.
We've had a good talk. It's over a year, I think. And
yeah,
if you can catch me up on what you're doing, then I can kind of respond to that question.
Sure. So I am my kind of target audience is women in life's transitions. So probably, 40 to 60-year-old, although, those borders are not made of cement.
No.
And I help women manage and adapt to significant life changes. And I've been very much posting on Facebook and a little bit on Instagram, trying to tell my story, trying to pick up on when folks are doing that sort of life transition that, I have several women that I reached out to recently who's sent either their oldest or their youngest off to college. And so I reached out to them and said, I'd love to support you through this. Let's talk. So kind of, reaching out as the time is, as a significant event happens, has been my method. And I would not say that I am very successful. I mean, when someone hires me, I feel like I'm very successful with them. I have a current client whose kind of transition is that her kids are all gone, and she just noticed that she didn't really know what she wanted to do now, as a 50-some-year-old woman who, do I get a job? My husband's going to retire in the next 10 years. So what do I do with myself? And that's really kind of just the surface. What do I do with myself? There's, usually something else underneath it.
Yeah.
That comes up, in which she has shared. She's like, every week it's a new can of worms that we open. And so it's great. But I had really hoped to have a word of mouth referral business, and that just doesn't feel like I'm not there yet. And that's not, when I have one client every year, it's not enough to be building that referral base.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that the second of the two courses that I'm offering, the one called Find Your Niche and Get Clients,
Yeah,
could help you. It is just a short course, though. So it won't solve your problem. It will just give you some more tools. I'm just being
right.
honest.
I know.
It will give
I
you
appreciate
tools.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it will get you a little farther down the road. But won't fill your calendar, with clients,
Yeah.
those little 3 hours. However, it's not a terrible investment. I think it's well worth the investment. You'll get that much out of it, and it will put you a little farther along. And you might want to think about the marketing lab that I run if you're just looking at help for marketing. And that is, it's a subscription program, costs $97 a month. And for that investment, we meet 4 times a month. You can come to any or all of those. It's an hour each time, small group like this. And you bring your marketing dilemmas. And that can be from how do I talk to people to how do I set up a web page or do a speaking gig or any other things except social media. I don't personally do social media, and so I can't teach it. But I don't necessarily, I don't think it's a great of a way to go after clients anyway. So that's why I don't do it.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of other ways of marketing and getting known. So in this workshop it's coming up, I'll help the participants get clear on their niche, get clear on their message, their core marketing message, and then know how to use that as a basic thing to get out and start being more visible, and what kind of next steps they can look into to build on that core message.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that being in person with people is probably the place that I need to go next. Social media has been, well, just for a number of reasons. Just the last few years, it was kind of the only way we could relate to people when we were in lockdown. But
Yeah.
So it's sort of become a little bit of a crutch, I guess. Yeah, and so I think thinking of kind of getting curious about where to be with people is where I need to. I mean, before I thought about how to market myself in those spaces, I'd have to find the spaces. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's kind of left and right hand. You want to do both to, they work together.
Right.
Where can you be and what can you say when you're there? It kind of comes together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find myself, so there's a group, it's called so I'm near Portland, Oregon. It's called the Portland, Oregon Women Entrepreneurs Roundtable. And it's a sweet little group that feels very uplifting in terms of women entrepreneurs. It's very, anyway, it's very uplifting, very positive, very supportive. It felt like I was, we all kind of had a similar thing to offer, and it felt like, how do you stand out in that sort of crowd? So I think that just means that I need to find other crowds.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot there I'd love to help you with. Beyond, I can't go into too much more here, but there's a lot there that I can help you with. And excellent. I think before we move on, I would love to give Teresa a chance to say something, because I imagine you have some input for Janet too.
One of the most popular things that's happening right now is one or two people in your niche, but not competing with you, doing little webinars or Facebook Lives together. People are kind of enjoying those. It's not a long thing, 11 to 18 minutes of just letting people get to know you is one place. And then when you do that, you cross promote to each other's email list or whoever you have. Even if it's 10 or 15 people, you cannot ever underestimate the power of just a small group. And then brainstorm ways that you can support each other. I think those are the networks that I've been creating lately. And the more you get in there and the more people see you, I've been connecting with people I would never connect with before. And they're like, oh my gosh, my people need to hear what you have to say. And they're totally not in the same space. So that's what's been really nice. Like, I talked to a lady today who's an optician, created a holistic wellness eye vision course. We're not in competition at all, but do I want to know what she knows? Yes, I do. And so it's that same synergy that helps you think outside the box a little bit. So if you can find people, you have that little group that you were just talking about, that would be a really great way to just work together. And you could all even show up to the same Zoom meeting, and you two would be the speakers. The room would be full, and people resonate with stuff like that. So I've been doing that lately and it seems to be working pretty well.
Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great idea.
You're welcome.
Lori has her hand up, but I want to say one more thing to Janet's question first. Janet, one of the best ways to stand out is to identify your unique point of view and share that. We all, okay, let's just say there's 6 nurses here. I bet if we were going to talk about helping women with transition in life, we would all come at it from a little different angle because we have a different point of view. And so our point of view is kind of like the air, just like we were talking about earlier. We don't see our own point of view because we take it for granted. And yet it's very unique from one person to another. So think about your point of view and unique experiences of transition that you've had in your life. And those can be what makes you stand out.
I want to just add one tiny thing. When you go to your room with your people, be the one that stands out. Dress the part, bring that energy with you, because we all kind of come in like, I don't know what to do, come in with I'm here to serve. Who can I help? And you change that energy of when you show up and people all in the room go, what's she doing? And I'll tell you, that makes a huge, huge difference when you show up like that. So.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Okay, Lori.
I was just going to share. So I'm in a group, same kind of thing, women entrepreneurs. Nobody in that group is a nurse. So, and it's just such a wide variety of people and what they do, but we meet every month and we have lunch, and there is some structure to our hour and a half that we meet, but then there's a part for networking with each other. And it's a group that has just very recently formed, and they've got chapters all over the country, but our chapter has just formed. So we're still all kind of muddling through it, but the director over our chapter is getting ready to start having all of us utilize that time doing a workshop, 15-20 minute little lunch and learn kind of thing. And some months it'll be a lot longer, just depending on, like every quarter, I think she's going to have like a full-blown half-day, workshop kind of thing. But when we were all getting to know each other, I partnered up with a brand new chiropractor. And so she's been a chiropractor for about 6 months, and she does the Gonstead chiropractic, which I was not familiar with at all. I've been receiving chiropractic treatment for years, but was not familiar with this. So she was explaining it to me. And so anyway, we became friends. I'm old enough to be her mom. She just got engaged. She's very disconnected from her family. So I've kind of taken her under my wing, and she works for a chiropractic office that is probably about 20 minutes from me. And we are going to start doing some healthy happy hours one Friday a month, and just kind of being just very informal to just kind of bring in people and just kind of share how we work together with completely separate focuses, but intertwining together. And I think that I'm hoping that we'll be able to refer back and forth to each other. So anyway, just thought I'd share that.
Wonderful. Wonderful, Lori.
I guess my point is, there's a lot of power in those rooms when, even though you have a different niche or completely different focus, really getting to know those people that can, really truly understand what you do, and the power of that. I think really, and it's helped me because I've been able to refer to some of the other entrepreneurs as well, as far as what they do. So it's been a good environment.
That can be a great environment. It is a little more challenging when it seems like a lot of people are doing the same thing. And I think that's what Janet was describing. Other people in her group are doing something very similar to what she's doing. But I have a feeling that that's like from a high level, it looks similar. When you come down to the individual, if you look at yourself, Janet, and the others as individuals, you would see there's some big differences. An experience and point of view. Yeah. Okay, well, we have about 8 minutes left. We haven't heard anything from Shauna or Tina, and that's okay. There's no pressure. I just want to make sure you're invited to bring up something, even if it's small.
Well, thank you. I've just been listening and really informative what everyone is saying.
Thank you, Shauna.
Yeah, I've just been listening in as well. I actually live in Southern Oregon, Janet, so I'm not too far from you. But I started a business and I actually have clients, but they're not paying clients. So I'm trying to move into that phase of getting paying clients.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a threshold, an important threshold to cross. And it's hard for us nurses because in our heart, we just want to give what we have to everybody. So yeah, feel free to share in the chat your contact info with each other, either privately or, with the whole group too. That's fine. Well, how about if we go around the group, and I'd love to hear what your takeaways are from tonight. And if you have identified a next step for yourself, I invite you to share that too. And that will be our way of wrapping it up. So who wants to share a takeaway and a next step that you're thinking of? Josie.
I'll go again.
Thank you.
So my takeaway was just, I'm getting my question, some ideas and thoughts and feedback from other, people that are using it that aren't really trying to sell me something on AI and Chat GPT. And so my next step is I'm working on getting more on my website and more YouTube's done, and then I'm also working on a mini course. The mini course can then lead to greater bigger courses. So that's and I'm thinking that it's one of two topics. One of them is either on the lymphatic system and the miracles and amazingness of the lymphatic system, because I also am a massage therapist, and I've been doing that for about 30 years, and I really have focused on the lymphatic system, and just the clients in the last couple of years that I've worked with and really focused on with the lymphatic system I've seen some really amazing changes in their health. And so it's either that or menopause, and they're kind of both sort of intertwined, because if you're congested,
yeah,
and you have all these hormones that kind of get sort of backed up, then it's so they kind of work together. So yeah,
that's interesting, Josie. So I did have a tip about your YouTube videos that I thought of earlier, and I want to go ahead and share with you.
Sure.
what do you use to record your videos? Do you use Zoom or something else?
Well, so it depends on what it is that I'm recording. So if I'm recording a practice, a physical practice, then I would be primarily using Zoom. If I am doing a recording like a meditation, then I'm recording either straight into Clipchamp or recording it into DaVinci. I haven't, I could make the recording in Zoom as well, and then take that and put it into, either.
Well, the reason I
But I
asked,
don't really know. I don't really know. I'm kind of, it's like I took my first step standing if I were a toddler,
yeah,
and I've fallen on my butt, so I don't really.
yeah, I totally get it. But you'll learn quick. YouTube is, has a lot of good tutorials and things to teach you. But
Oh, yes, they do.
a tip I wanted to share is if you do use Zoom or any other tool, whatever tool you use to record, Zoom now has a really nice AI transcript maker, or it's kind of a summary.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And that is very helpful, because if you have that turned on, you'll receive that by email, and you can copy that and paste it into the description on YouTube, and course edit it so it really says what you want. Make sure it's as rich with your keywords as you can. And then that's the way that YouTube helps it pop up for people, to see, to be found. So definitely use that description space to fill it with your keywords, so you'll come to the attention of the people that need your information.
So even if I'm recording, let's just say a meditation in Zoom, it would generate a summary of that.
If you have it turned on, yeah.
Okay. And then turning it on is in the settings.
It's in the settings on Zoom. Yeah.
So beforehand, and then you also have to activate it when you start the recording too, correct?
Mine, I put it in the settings, and now it comes on automatically.
Automatically. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I went off my path of asking for takeaways and next steps. Who else has a takeaway and from tonight, and a next step that has come to them?
I'll go.
Okay.
I think my big takeaway was just hearing and validating the power that you don't have to have social media to be successful in your business. I feel the same way you do, Sharon, and there's so much more that you get from that personal connection. And I think for me, just because I have been inundated by the nurse coach community from all aspects, it's to me right now, it's just a big turnoff. And I feel like it's a real pushy salesperson-y kind of, and I hate that. And I never want I don't ever want to be perceived that way. So, but with technology the way it is, I know a lot of people live on that. So I've just kind of assumed that that's how I was going to have to grow my business, and it just feels gross to me. And so I haven't done a lot with social media, but it was nice to hear some validation from that here tonight. And my next step is just going to definitely move forward and get plugged in with my people here in my community.
Great. Thanks, Lori. Yeah, Tina.
I would just echo that too. I don't do social media myself either. And sometimes I feel like maybe I should go back and forth. So it was nice to get a little bit of validation that that's maybe not the right route. So.
Great.
I would say it's validating, or it's a takeaway, I guess, is that I have a unique medicine to offer, and I kind of hone in on what that is. That would be my next step, and to get in face-to-face spaces with people. And I really love Teresa's idea of kind of doing a group workshop. So that's also on my next to-do list.
Janet, I love how you said, use the term medicine, your unique medicine. Yeah, great. And Shauna, I know you were just listening. Do you have any final words to share or takeaways that you got from this?
Well, I guess, well, I'm kind of excited to hear that everybody is kind of embracing the AI or Chat GPT. I am a AI developer for Google as well. So it sounds like you guys are using it in a really amazing way. Just one tip, Chat GPT, it is open source, so don't put anything proprietary in there that you don't want anyone else to have. But otherwise, I guess I am struggling with the social media, so it is very good to hear that everyone is doing well without using social media. One thing that I did recently find is that Pinterest is a really good search engine that I've been using for my nursing practice. So it's not as stressful as social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great, Shauna. Well, I hope you come back another time and share with us what you're doing with that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We'd love to hear. All right, everyone. Well, thank you. And I hope I see you again another first Tuesday. Bye-bye.